Hey guys, this is Ustadi and welcome to Comic Space, and today what we're talking about is what I believe could be one of the major and the biggest news that we have got in the recent times, and which is saying a lot because it just been a month since SDCC, where obviously we got in one of the biggest announcement by Marvel Studios with RDJ coming back as Doctor Doom. But today we are also talking about another Marvel villain, and we are talking about Ultron coming back to the MCU, and it can get as much as official that it can get right now. It is just not rumor mill that has been buzzing with the return of Ultron, but it has been officially confirmed by the Hollywood Reporter as well as Deadline that James Spader is coming back as Ultron in the upcoming Vision Quest series. And on top of that, by the official Hollywood trades, it has been confirmed that Elizabeth Olsen is going to be coming back as Scarlet Witch. And to make it much more interesting, Ultron, Scarlet Witch could be returning in the same project in the Vision Quest as well. So again, I think it is just one of the major updates that we have received in a very long time. And again, like I said, it just has been like a month since SDCC. So what is this about? We are going to talk all about that and how exactly Ultron is going to come back, because it is just not going to be in voiceover, but he's actually going to be major part of the show. So like I mentioned, our initial update came from Hollywood Reporter as well as Deadline, where they confirmed that James Spader will indeed come back as Ultron in the upcoming Vision Quest series. And now today we have another major update coming from a most trusted industry insider, coming from Daniel RPK. And again, if you have been following our channel or have been part of the rumor mill, you know that we like to give Daniel RPK a lot more reverence than any other industry insider, as he have quite an impeccable track record, as well as he have always been on spot with all of his scoops. So as you went on to state, Vision Quest will feature elements from the West Coast Avengers, as Ultron isn't just back for a cameo, he is going to play a major role in the series, as he also have quite a major update about Elizabeth Olsen returning as Scarlet Witch that we will get on later on in the video. And we will talk all about Scarlet Witch return, which is I think just one of the most obvious thing since the release of Multiverse of Madness. I think it is just has been one of the most obvious thing that she is going to be returning. That is it. We will get into it, but let's talk about Ultron, and James Spader is coming back as Ultron. So we will also talk about the elements that Daniel RPK mentioned of the West Coast Avengers and what that exactly mean. But with Ultron returning, we are presuming that if he's going to have a major role, he's probably going to be coming back as a villain, probably not as an Avengers level threat, not yet, but building towards it. And again, I think it is just one of those things that I think with having Ultron in the MCU, especially with comics, that he just keeps coming back and back. But given all of that, how Marvel Studios is exactly planning to bring back Ultron, and I think one of the major things, obviously the White Vision or Spectral Vision that we are going to see, he is still kind of finding his roots. He's going to find his new world and he's still kind of learning. And again, he's absolutely not anything like the Vision that we have seen for like years. And I think one of the major things that we can talk about, as when Vision was at the Sword headquarters and they were trying to rebuild, and they were trying to build White Vision at that point. And I think one of the major things that comes to my mind is that the scene from Avengers Infinity War.
You might have a choice. Your mind is made up of a complex construct of overlays: Jarvis, Ultron, Tony, me, the Stone.
So we can probably see Ultron coming back as in part of Vision's consciousness, and as he could kind of have a self-turmoil with his own new personality as well as with Ultron, or we are just going to see Ultron as in completely different, which I think probably can be happening later in the series. And obviously Ultron is also going to try to find his way back, and probably Ultron can be looking forward to kind of start where he kind of left off, where he was trying to make Vision as another self of him, and with an obviously body made of vibranium and everything. So again, I think he probably can be going forward to that, and then obviously finding into his new self, and we can probably see a completely new redesign of Ultron, apart from very different from what we have already seen with the Age of Ultron. And I think probably could be more like what we have seen in the What If series. If Ultron goes to that level, But anyhow, I believe the series is still going to be much more grounded and focusing around Vision, because obviously it is, because it's a Vision show, so it really should be. But again, we have Ultron coming back and we don't know at what level and what kind of state that he's going to come back. But again, I think it also, and I think it is quite prominent one too, that Sword was actually able to replicate Ultron, or the Ultron's consciousness, as they were building this new Vision as White Vision or Spectral Vision. They were building him, but they were also able to extract the consciousness of Ultron as he was able to escape and try to find his new way, and obviously coming back as a new big bad. Probably not as an Avengers level threat, at least for this show. He's pretty much going to be extended till this very series, and obviously he is still Ultron, and that's why we are also going to have a lots of elements from the West Coast Avengers. But it depends, because there are lots of adaptation of the group. Can we be seeing a much more of a classic team of the West Coast Avengers? It is not obviously going to be in full out West Coast Avengers series or the whole team, obviously having the elements drawn off, or we are actually going to see Kate Bishop and America Chavez version of West Coast Avengers, and we can be seeing that Marvel can be pivoting the whole Young Avengers thing towards the West Coast Avengers and kind of pivot that story towards Vision series, which again I think is quite unlikely. But as of right now, Marvel Studios is not moving with a full-fledged Young Avengers project, which was once a theatrical project. They have kind of stopped on that, but obviously at some point they're going to have to build that team, and to obviously they have just not introduced all of these characters for nothing. So again, even if they are not going to do a full-fledged Young Avengers project or even in West Coast Avenger project, they're obviously going to draw those elements into a totally different something else, which is again being in Vision Quest series. There are lots of things going to be going on with Ultron and the West Coast Avengers, and again I think they can be going for much more of a classic team up of the West Coast Avengers as well, which is again we gotta see how that is going to work out. So again, Vision Quest series is going to have a lot of things going for it, and it might also involve Elizabeth Olsen returning as Scarlet Witch. So first thing first, we know for sure that Elizabeth Olsen is going to be come back as Scarlet Witch, because she is going to start filming an MCU project next year. And we know that Vision Quest series is also going to be starting its filming next year, and with the whole kind of coincidence of with all of this news coming, we believe that she could be part of that Vision Quest series, which is again I don't think so is quite necessary. Again, it can be an Avengers project, it can be Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars. They are also going to be in the production next year. It can be a completely different project, but she is coming back. Like I mentioned earlier, it was quite obvious that yeah, Elizabeth Olsen is going to come back as Scarlet Witch at some point, and especially if you're going to give her a kind of a much more of a big redemption, she can be featured in a Disney Plus show like Vision Quest, and actually follows her story as she redeems herself from all of the events of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, or we can directly find her going into Avengers Doomsday or in Avengers Secret Wars, which is I think 100% that we are going to see Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch in that film for sure. It is just that are we going to see her sooner, or we are just going to have to wait till Secret Wars. Marvel Studios can be reintroducing her in the world, because again we all saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and obviously there was quite an on your face reference about Scarlet Witch in that film. So there's a quite chance that she is indeed in the world, which we also believe possibly I'm still not quite sure about it, but possibly could be our battle world moving forward, which again Doctor Doom is going to take over and just going to turn Ward into his own battle world and everything, which is again a quite a different video to talk about. But so the potential projects that she could possibly return, or we can have a hint of her return, has to be projects like Vision Quest, maybe Agatha, maybe Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Strange 3, maybe. Obviously again I think it is quite guaranteed with Avengers Secret Wars, yeah, she is going to be back. And she's going to be back for a much more longer run, which I believe leaning into the Mirror Saga, and a lot of crazy stuff is going to happen as we head towards this last leg and the final phase of the Multiverse Saga, which again has been a quite a thrilling ride until now, and it is just going to keep building towards it. With all of these projects going into the production next year, we are going to have some major updates coming in about all of these characters returning, about what is actually going to happen and how the battle world is going to look like, and the roadmap after the battle world, after Secret Wars. and what that could be looking like with the Mutant Saga. So I think it is time for me to see you guys off on this one, but I'm so glad that you guys got the time to hear me out. Thanks for listening to me. This is your host Adi signing off. See you in the next one.